Welcome back to Adelante Chicago. There is development all around us, all around our city, and it's important to know some of the projects that are in the works. One of them has been getting a lot of attention. It's the Little Village Framework Plan to address the industrial corridor in that area. And joining us now to explain is Kim Wasserman. She is the Executive Director of the Little Village Environmental Justice Organization. Thank you for coming out.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, and I know we extended the invitation to the city as well. They could not be here. They did send out a statement, and I'll talk about it in just a little bit. But I want to start with exactly what this is, this framework plan. I know it's about 75 pages long. Very few people have a chance to go through it with fine tooth and comb. So I'm wondering what's in it.
So basically, this is the culmination of a 10-month process in the neighborhood in which the city attempted to talk about the industrial corridor, who's in it, how it impacts us, and what to do about it. Okay. Really, in a nutshell, is what it was about. But unfortunately, at the end of the 10-month process, and folks will see this in that document, we really didn't get as much information as we wanted to. And I think that for us is one of the biggest problems in this process, is that a lot of decisions are being made without good information. And as a community that has fought for better air and more land and public transit, we want to ensure that any decisions that are made on facts and made on good information so that we can have hopefully the best outcome of jobs, economy, and environment in Little Village.
Okay, so talk to me about what they would see in that plan. When we talk about those 75 pages and it being an industrial corridor,
Absolutely.
Are we talking about more warehouses, more I don't know, affordable housing? Like, what is a part of that plan?
So the plan really talks about a couple of things. It talks about transportation, it talks about sustainability, and it talks about employment, all which are very important topics. Unfortunately, however, in the plan, we don't actually get a sense of how many businesses.
Do you have specifics?
There is specifics. There's specifics around there being a need for a study on traffic because there hasn't been one in 25 years. There was specific that Little Village has the second worst air quality in the state of Illinois. That was very specific. Okay. There was specifics on the fact that 13% of people from Little Village work in the industrial corridor. Those are probably the two biggest statistics of the report that I can give you, is the air quality and the employment. The rest of the information, however, wasn't as strong, wasn't as informative. For instance, we don't actually know from the city how many businesses are in the industrial corridor. This is of concern.
Right now?
Right now.
Okay.
They gave us an estimate, but they couldn't actually provide a list or an actual amount of businesses total that were in the corridor. That was of concern because folks want to know what kind of businesses are there. If folks have concerns about a specific business, the city doesn't really have a way to talk about that specific business. It was really more just the overall industrial corridor itself in general, which is a good conversation, again, don't get me wrong, but when only 13% of the community works in the industrial corridor, then folks want to have a more robust conversation of how can we up that number so that it's not just 13%. How can we get to 20? How can we get to 15? I don't know, another number. There weren't conversations to be had around our community in general. We're a particularly Latino, Mexican-American community that deals with undocumentation. That wasn't part of the conversation in the industrial corridor plan. We are the youngest community in the city of Chicago. 86% of Black and Latino youth don't have jobs in Chicago. That wasn't part of the conversation.
So how do you make it part of the conversation? That's where you step in.
Absolutely.
Really.
We have fought very hard, one, to extend the process. The process originally was only going to be 3 months. We got it to go to 10 months, and we want more because not enough people are part of this conversation. We are asking for more information. We think a traffic study should be done before any recommendations get made, because how do you know how many trucks we currently have before you add on more trucks into the neighborhood? We want to see real language. They talk about wanting to reduce the health impacts, but they don't talk about how. Okay. So we think that things like air monitors or air filters should be part of the conversation. So these are the things that we've been asking for, is more information and more specifics, actual action plans, timelines. Who do we hold accountable?
Does it seem like you're going to get that stuff?
We don't know. I think it seems like things are waiting with the next mayor coming into office.
Sure.
Things were up in the air with the election happening. The next aldermen have said that this is an important process to them. But we're going to continue to put pressure on the city to say we deserve this information and we have a right to say what should happen in our neighborhood.
Okay, and the city did send out a statement over to WGN. Let me read it to you.
Please.
We reached out to them earlier in the week. It says, at this time, the city is reviewing feedback from public meetings that took place at the end of January, exploring further data collection and analysis. And some of that analysis they say that they're looking at would be to help understand the impact of a project. And here's some of it. They're going to begin, as you talked about, a transportation study. They're going to launch an air quality task force, and they're going to evaluate land use within the context of what they're calling an industrial corridor. So I would imagine that those are all positive things that you're looking at.
Absolutely. This is the first we heard of the air task force, so very excited to hear that. And we want to see timeline and commitment and staffing that go along with those. A lot of times our community has been promised things and then they don't actually transpire in the real world. So we want to make sure that if those are the things they're committing to, when and how often can we have those conversations? Because the fact is it's our young people in the neighborhood who did their own air testing. We've been doing air testing in the neighborhood for 2 years with young people to show that what we believe is true, that the air quality is bad.
Okay. Thank you so much, and thank you for coming in.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm sure we'll talk about this a lot more.
Absolutely.